What's going on? Yogi, 2 bikes, 2 beers. Getting together tonight, like I said we would. Friday the 13th, 2023. October, too. Makes it even better. Gonna have a couple beers tonight. Gonna have a special guest on. He should be on here in a minute. But welcome, guys. It's been a good week, but ready for it to be over. That's for sure. So there he is now. Some of you may or may not know Brother John, infamous, legend in his own mind. I'm not really sure which. But welcome, brother.
Welcome, brother. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm doing Miller Lite and well, I don't even know why I cracked that Miller Lite. I still got a little bit of Yingling left. You know how it is working on motorcycles. They either pay you in cash, but most likely it's going to be beer.
Yeah, well, I picked this up in Ohio, and it's pretty cool.
Ah, okay.
I got you. Figure I have to limit the drink.
You know, got to stay in shape. How's your week been?
Busy. Happy Friday the 13th, too. Don't forget that.
Happy Friday the 13th. This is probably our favorite day of the year besides Halloween itself.
Yeah. I should be getting some ink right now, but at the same time, I wouldn't miss this for the world.
I got you. Your mic's a little low. Let me see if we can get you turned up a little bit.
It'd be really good if I even was.
I got you. Well, hopefully this picks up well, and if it doesn't, yeah. I just finally start throwing away money on other things besides the obvious. Yeah. Can't do it on motorcycles and strippers anymore, so I might as well do it just on motorcycles and equipment.
There you go. Motorcycles and
so somebody asked me, and you were the first person I thought of to sit down and have this conversation. But somebody asked me why. First of all, they asked me, why do you ride motorcycles? And for myself, I know the answer to that. But what got you into riding?
You had to throw a curveball first off, didn't you?
Hey, got to start off with the heavy hitters.
It's a feeling that you're almost like you're in touch with God. Let's say that. It's a feeling you can't describe really to me. I can ride 100 miles an hour. I can run. It's all the same to me. Some people are scared to run those big speeds. I mean, it's no different to me either way, but you know, it's a release. It's just one of those things that you just can't. It's like an addiction. Once you start, I mean, I started back 1995, so I've been riding almost 30 years. So when I didn't have a motorcycle, I did that for a little while when my daughter was growing up. It was like something's missing, a piece of you's missing. And then once I got back, you know, you met me not longer after that first Heritage I bought. And I haven't stopped. I mean, and now I have what I enjoy riding instead of just having a bike. I can be picky now.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is there's different bikes for different styles of riding. And when you find one that fits you, it really, you just know it. You know it pretty much the moment you get on it. And you can ride that bike everywhere. For
Right.
myself, it's a road glide. You know, as far as for long hauls, we've also got, our off road bikes and, around town bikes and everything else. And I ran into people that say, why do you have more than one motorcycle? It's like, well, why do you have more than one car or one pair of pants? I mean, you've got different functions for everything.
Right. And I've got pretty much the same setup. I've got the road glide meant for anybody that's going to do long rides or even contemplate being in a club. You're going to put miles on it, and you want to be comfortable. And the predominant ones that are out there are usually road glide, street glide. Um, the new, what are they? The replacement dynas that they've made now. Um, those a lot of people are riding them, but you don't really want to go two up with that. I mean, I rode two up for years, and believe me, you want to have that comfort, whether it's riding with the club two up or riding alone by in a just a group two up. Your old lady wants that comfort too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I try to suggest to people, of course, start on a bike that you can handle, but at the same time, know know how you learn. If you're somebody that's a fast learner and is going to put in the effort to it, then maybe you can start on something just slightly bigger. You want to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, it can actually deter you from riding. Um, I've seen a lot of people that I think have the really good potential to learn how to ride and do some good things. And like you said, whether you're with a club or you're riding by yourself, having the right bike is essential. You know, I think that's a good segue. There is, you mentioned club. You and I both have different levels of club experience.
Right.
I'm not going to get into where those levels lead us, but how do you think a club influences not only riding styles but the community in general?
I think a lot of things have changed now with your social media. Um, Everybody wants to be a friend of such and such. As far as clubs, um, I did it because it was almost like stepping back into the military from, after, serving, having that camaraderie. The worst part about it is once you move to another duty station or you got out of the military, you kind of lost it. And going into a club, which is where, clubs basically came from, was from the military, is that camaraderie and everything. And that's the draw. I mean, it really is. It's the draw for every person out there, whether it be man or woman. I mean, there's plenty of women, clubs, riding clubs. There's none local around here that I know of, but um, there's quite a few female MCs that I've heard about. But you know, riding, getting into clubs has a good and a positive look with some people, and
Mm-hmm.
then you've got negative. It really just depends on your perception. So many years ago, Sons of Anarchy came out, and everybody thought, "Ooh, those are badasses. I want to be like them." It's not what it's about. That was about like watching As the World Turns. It was a soap opera, good music, soap opera.
I
You
think
know,
you and I used to sit around and say, "As the spoke turns."
yeah, it's that's not club life. Okay, there's parts of it that they tried to pick up through the thing, and I have to. But the community's perception of club members, a lot of that's based on TV. They don't ever get to. Now, if you go to, say, a bike night where there's a bunch of Harley, you know, enthusiasts there, oh, they support bikers 100%, support clubs 100%. I mean, I can say this: I used to sell merchandise for the clubs that I was a member of, and the lines are huge, but it's already somebody who's wearing a Harley Davidson T-shirt because they know who it is. For them, the local communities, unless you're impacted by a club, say for instance, um, there's an awesome club here in my area that does blanket rides. They raise money for the homeless. Those are all positive impacts, and that really does shine that light on what clubs do, what they really do. I mean, they never see that hat being taken off and it passed around just in the room. They never see that. What they see is that thousand or 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000. I've even seen as much as $11,000 donated that was raised by bikers, and the whole brain cell was from a club. That turns that that view of a club to a positive stage, but at the same time, you won't see it on the news. You won't see it in a newspaper, even though those newspapers are archaic now. You'll see it all over Facebook. The bad stuff on there too, and it's really just who you talk to. Um, you know, my mother for years never liked me being in a club, even though she saw the biggest smile on my face when I rolled up on my motorcycle. She didn't understand that. She didn't never downgrade it, but she didn't understand it. And it takes just interaction with club members to actually see that positivity.
Exactly. We've got actually a question from a viewer, uh, which is that's pretty cool. First question. It's and I can kind of help field this. What misconceptions or stereotypes about your motorcycle club would you like to dispel? I think I would comment on that and say that while the old adage is a bad apple ruins every bunch, it's usually just one bad apple. You know, it's not an motorcycle clubs are not street gangs. There's a reason that sticker and saying has been around forever because they're not. And there are lots of good people, honest, hardworking people that ride motorcycles. And there are people out there that ride motorcycles more than your average weekend warrior. So therefore, they find camaraderie riding with other people, whether it's because maybe, you know, they don't have a lot of family. Myself, I didn't have a lot of family around. So I looked for that. I did not serve in the military. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you to all those that have for our freedom. But I was looking for that camaraderie and the family and found that where I ended up. Um, but I think that's probably the biggest misconception is that everyone that wears a patch is a bad guy. And that's just not the case.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I believe a big misconception of club members is they're just drugged out, drunk, no good wannabes that don't they just ride and drink and party. No, we're normal people. I mean, hell, you can barely see it off the corner back there. Back over behind that lamp, that's a degree. I have two.
Mm-hmm.
There's many members of motorcycle clubs from the top. I mean, from the top all the way down to the bottom. And I'm not categorizing clubs, just well known to the least known that own their own companies, um, work regular 40-hour weeks, have kids. I mean, I have two wonderful kids and a beautiful grandchild. Um, we have families too. Um, but we have jobs. How do you think we afford Harleys? They don't just give them to us.
Exactly.
I have multiple Harleys, so I've had to pay for them. They weren't given to me. And I know Yogi, he's got multiple and he's paid for them too. The biggest thing is we had to pay our dues. Our families had to pay our due, pay some of those dues too, because while we were in the club, they had to sacrifice time with us because that was something
Oh,
we
for
wanted
sure.
to do. And
I think that's where a lot of people forget that it's not just the guy joining the club, it is the family as well.
right,
And if your old lady or your wife, however you want to terminize it, is not supportive of you and is not willing to have your back, it's going to make it 10 times harder.
mm-hmm.
We always said you got to be a man first, take care of your family, take care of your job, because without those two things, you can't take care of your club.
That's right. I also remember saying from a long time ago is if she can't be around here, you know good and damn well I'm not going to be here because I got to go home to that.
That's right.
And it's true.
Yeah, I mean you can't live in peace for a few hours a day with your club brothers and then live in hell at home.
No,
It just doesn't work that way.
no. And that's the thing. I mean, I said this years ago, and I was talking to quite a few brothers, um, and I said, the motorcycle culture that we were in is slowly dying because that belief of family, that belief of dedication, you know, the younger generation is having a hard time with that. They just want to get phenomenal, look flashy, and do stupid things. Um, I can honestly say, I'm a biker. I've been in multiple clubs. I'm not an expert. I'll ride the hell of a Harley. I'll do anything for my brothers, um, the ones I still call brothers. And
Exactly.
I call Yogi a brother. He calls me brother. If he called me right now, the distance we have, I would figure out a way to get there.
That's right.
Simple. That's just the way it is. Um, and as far as the motorcycle culture going away, it's mostly that dedication and understanding that there's no lies between anyone, and you're supposed to
No.
celebrate. That's the biggest thing. I have to say I do miss the club. Um, I've been out for a couple years now, or almost 2 years, and I live for my family, um, mainly my son, but for my family because I was needed at home more than I was in the country. The dedication is there. I still have that dedication, but my family is more important because they'll still be with me when I can't ride. Um, but the dedication I'm
Well,
talking
I
about
think
is day in, day out, showing up, doing what you got to do, and actually enjoying it.
yeah. Well, I think whenever whenever a man or woman leaves a club, it should never be a surprise to their brothers or sisters. If they're in tune with what's going on in their life and what's going on with that brother or sister, then if anything, I can never tell you as a man what to do, but I can try to help guide you along. And if I'm seeing that you're just not doing the right things and balancing your life, then as a brother, I should be pushing you in the right direction.
Right. I've got a good friend of mine. He's a good friend. He is in a club, and he told me, and it's only been a few months ago. He said, I finally had to go up to one of my oldest friends and tell him this just isn't for you. You probably need to leave and get you straightened out.
Yeah.
And you know, in stories, and got we have a lot of common knowledge on things that happened in the area. Had that happened with certain people, some of the things that happened and some of the people might be still above ground because they would have
Yeah.
had actual conversations, know that somebody actually cares about them instead of them just up and running off. Because that's what it's supposed to be about, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's old bikers for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not because they rode better. It's not because they did less of drinking or whatever. It's because they used their brain or they had a good support system to get them along. And you made the comment that someone would still be above ground. I wholeheartedly believe that in a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
That we would have had a couple less funerals to attend.
Oh yeah. And
Anyways,
but
now
to
that
get
we've
off of
brought the
that
room down,
negativity,
we're gonna have another beer, and so not I'm gonna say not 5 miles from my house is an Indian motorcycle dealer,
mm-hmm.
and the man I'm talking to on the phone has, in my opinion, one of the best well built Harleys on earth. I'm not going to give any plugs to any shops to build anything, but I will say
Me either.
that it's an awesome motorcycle.
I won't
But
plug
what do
it.
you think about the competition level that Indian is bringing right now to the table?
As much before I had my road glide upgraded. I'll just say that I actually went and took a ride on an Indian. Was the top one they've got? I don't remember the name of it, but that thing's got power. Um,
Yeah,
the old revving it up. I mean, the sales guy's like, "No, stop, stop, stop! Don't do that. That's just Harleys." I was like, "It's a motorcycle. I did
yeah,
this on, I did it on Hondas when I was a kid. Everybody
yeah,
does that." He's like, "No, no, no, no! You don't do that. You'll confuse the computer." I'm like, "What?" Anyhow, but the Indy has got a hellacious amount of power
yeah,
from stock. Comfort, the one that I test drove, I probably would change the seat. It feels a little bit too wide for me. I like a little bit narrower up towards the front. Um, but as far as power, the one thing that I wish Harley would bring on board that Indian has is the adjustable uh, visor up front, windshield.
yes,
Yeah, that would knock a lot of companies out of business because you know Clockworks and all them
yeah.
couldn't
That's
sell
I
their
think that's one
products all the
thing
time.
people forget about is a lot of there are a lot of aftermarket companies that depend on Harley not being as top notch out of the gate as they should be.
True, and let's go back to there's a few companies that actually do make an adjustable windshield for the front of Harleys.
Yeah,
I've seen non-touring bikes out there that have them. They're not electric like the Indian is, but it is it's fully adjustable. Um, as far as the Indian's, a lot of plastic too. Now
yeah,
we can debate Harley plastic all we want, but I've got two Dynas out there that are majority all metal. My Road Glide is not all metal, but I don't replace it with, or I don't replace things on it with Amazon plastic either. But there is a lot of plastic on the Indian. Um,
yeah. I
but
got that same, especially when they first came out. I got that same feeling as well. I mean, you can tell when something's been plastic and it's been chromed over. Um, I just got a little bit cheaper feel. Um, I'm not saying that Harley's using higher standard parts or anything like that. That's I don't want anybody to confuse that, but I'm just saying that looking at it and putting your hands on it is not as cheap a feel as some of the old Indian parts. Now, you know, I will say motor wise, sure, great motor. But like you said, it's apples and oranges. You know, they're talking about you're going to confuse the computer by revving it up. I mean,
And
to each his own. It's a different ride for every different strokes for different folks. I guess the real question is, would Swipe ride an Indian? Probably not.
he might ride an Indian mound, but not an
Ah,
Indian.
yeah, probably. It always the age old questions: do penguins have knees? No, it's elongated calves.
But now with Indians, I'll be honest with you, some of their cruising type, not the touring type, some of the cruising types, yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to say I wouldn't hop on one and ride it for a while. But to be honest, if I leave Harley, and this is kind of like a white lie, I'd
yeah.
go to a Buell because everyone's been talking about that new Buell is coming out, and now it's pushed off to 2025.
Eric Buell has made anybody that knows anything about motorcycles cannot deny Eric Buell's contribution to the motorcycle industry. I mean, without him, we don't have the Evo. I mean, just the list is long, and we're not going to get into the conversations of how he got screwed by Harley. But this latest iteration of Buell, I think, if done correctly, could easily outsell whatever that bike is that they've replaced the dyno with. It is a looks like it is a wicked performing machine.
Yeah, I gotta look that shit up because I can't remember. And I actually looked at them. I wasn't too happy with the feel of it, but I like the old Dyna style, and that's probably why
Yeah.
I like that new Buell that they're advertising. I know last year you could actually go ahead and put your down payment down,
Oh yeah. I
small down
mean,
payment to hold your bike.
folks, this is the bike right here that we're looking at. I mean, it is just a monster of motorcycle. I mean, it really is. I do not know engine displacements on this bike. I really don't know anything about it other than I know the designer, the chief engineer, and I can tell that they obviously incorporated water cool, which, despite what diehard Harley enthusiasts
That's
think, it has a
that's
place.
gonna pretty much, yeah, that's gonna
But
shut down that lowrider S and ST.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this bike right here, for the price point it's going to have, I mean, it's going to shut down a lot of motorcycles especially for the traditional Harley enthusiast that likes performance. They're not wanting all the bells and whistles. They're just wanting a bike that's going to perform.
Yeah, because not everybody can afford a road glide that's been upgraded to performance. I mean, you're talking new bike now, um, up in the mid 30s for just a stock. And you're looking at another 25 to 30 to take it up to performance level. I mean, the lowrider ST, don't get me wrong, it's good for some people. Um, the paint patterns, I love them, but at the same time, it would not fit my riding style. The old Dyna fits my riding style, mainly because I can't see $26,000 just to have a bike to ride up to the bar and have a beer. I got an
Oh
old
yeah.
Dyna that can do that just fine, and it actually looks just as pretty to me. But that Buell, I'm just gonna tell you, they've taken some of the things from the soft tail, especially from the shocks, that center shock that the ST is using right now. They've opened it up so it's going to get a lot more air, and you know this. Engines love air. Harleys love air. So all you got to do is get
Oh
about
yeah.
55 degrees out there, and that engine will run peak performance versus 95 degrees.
Oh, days like today, I mean, other than the little bit of misty rain, are peak performance days for Harley. I mean, one of these days that you wake up and it's 40 degrees outside, once they get warmed up, I mean, run like a bat out of hell. Cold air equals
That
horsepower
might be
sometimes.
something you can talk about in the future too. Is a lot of people have a misconception of what you got to put on to go ride,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
especially getting towards the cooler months now in our area. There's a lot of good input probably from other viewers. I know what works for me. I've rode all the way down to 12 degrees, and I've suffered in 25 and 30 degrees. Yeah, so that's something for
Yeah,
the
I mean,
future. That
people,
might be a good discussion.
for sure, people got this misconception that cams make horsepower. Cams make noise, but you need more than a cam to make horsepower.
Oh
And
yeah,
you get an amateur builder that doesn't know what they're doing, and put this massive low cam in a motorcycle, and you end up destroying the motorcycle and not even going 5 feet down the road.
right.
So, trust your reputable motorcycle, your engine builders,
Absolutely.
Upstate Stein Joe, Tennessee Moonshine Harley. I mean, in Florida Lightning Lane. I mean, just find the shop that's near you, and don't be afraid to travel. I mean, you ride a motorcycle, you should be used to traveling down the road, long distances. But going to a reputable dealer that's going to know, or reputable small shop that's going to know your motorcycle and know how to work on it, is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. And if you go to certain ones, you better have some gold to go into them. I have to say though, every penny I've put in mine has been thoroughly enjoyed. So
Oh, I mean, it's definitely worth it. I mean, and I don't want people to get confused and think, and I think that's another misconception, and that's where the hard work pays off. Is people think, oh, well, they have really nice motorcycles, they must do things to that are illegal to get that. No, you work your ass off, you pay the motorcycle off, and then when it's paid off, you start dumping the same amount you were putting in a payment back into upgrading it. And before long, you've got the bike that of your dreams.
yeah, literally, I'm about 2 grand, maybe three. Depends on how much the cost of shocks and stuff
Yeah.
go up. I'm literally that far away from having the perfect bike. Um,
Well, that's awesome, brother. I think we've touched on a lot of the positives, and like I said, I'm not here to get into negatives and stuff because we could get on that all day, but that's not what we're here for. But I really appreciate your feedback, and I think you're a great source for the community at large that doesn't know. And even if they do, we have a question: is there electric motorcycles? I'm just thinking about it. Yes, there's electric motorcycles. So I
yes, and
can
you
say
charge
this:
it
I
with
have ridden an
diesel
electric
battery.
motorcycle. I took an electric motorcycle down the road. It is one of the most confusing experiences you'll ever ride as someone that rides as often as we do. Um, of course, there's no noise. They are instant torque, so it reminds me a lot of riding a Harley. However, I mean it's instant. They are electronically controlled, so that way you don't get killed and you don't flip it over backwards immediately.
Right.
However, for people like me and John, it's about distance, and it's about having a good time all day. What I would be concerned with, just like about any other electric vehicle, is charging it. And just me personally, I've had batteries blow up in my face. I just don't know how a battery blowing up in between my legs is going to feel too good, or you know, if you, God forbid, do lay that bike down, that battery blowing up on you. So I don't know. To each his own. You make your decision. I'm gonna stick with my old trusty Harley. Even if she
Uh,
does leak, I'll look cool doing it.
I'll just add in there if I wanted to ride an electric bike, I'd just get me a little one of these little scooters that you can just ride around town. I saw a guy doing almost 50 miles an hour the other day on one of them things.
Oh
I
yeah.
bet he
I
don't go
mean,
far.
yeah, that's the thing is just not going far, and then you get like in the times like this where it's starting to get colder. Yeah, that distance is gonna get cut down a little bit. Uh,
Brother,
we have one fan saying that we're handsome looking devils, but of course that's my wife, so she has to say that.
no wonder you turned your camera off.
Do what?
I said, no wonder you turned your camera off.
Well, brother, it was damn good talking to you. I think you've got the perfect subject for our next podcast, and that is just parts and what's out there, what you should and shouldn't use. Um, I'll go ahead and say it now. Stay away from a lot of Amazon, but you know, we can talk about that and get it going for next time. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know it's Friday night. We got places to be, such as watching TV.
Oh, absolutely. I've already been told 8 o'clock I got to be off of here. We got an appointment with SmackDown.
I got you. All righty. Well, until next time, my brother, give me a holler and we will talk to you later.
Be safe, brother.
All right. Much love. We'll talk to you later.
Much love.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. It was great talking to John. He's always a good resource. He's a good brother, a good friend. There's no better than no. They don't come any better than him. Um, I'm going to start signing off all my podcasts with a little rock and roll affirmation. And I ain't getting religious on you. Don't worry. Just little things that I found and I think that are kind of important. This one today comes from the eclectic Frank Zappa. It says the most important thing to do in your life is to not interfere with somebody else's life. And I could not agree more. Riding motorcycles is about freedom. It's about riding your own ride, riding at your own pace. They say the destination is the destination, not the journey, all that other BS. And I couldn't agree more. One thing we've talked about clubs today, one thing about some clubs is we talk about freedom, yet they are some of the most constricting things you could ever do sometimes. So it is what it is. You make up your own mind. There's good people out there on two wheels. Please open your eyes, look twice, save a life, and we'll talk to you later.